Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to save for your first house quicker. So I'm not going to waffle and I'm going to get straight into this video. Before you can even begin to think about how you're going to save for this first property or go about saving for it quicker, you need to first identify what the figure looks like. So your number one thing is to identify what that saving figure looks like for you. That obviously means identifying how much the property is going to cost and then all the other costs associated with it. So if you haven't done so, you might want to skip back to my last video, which basically talks about how to calculate the figure that you need to save for when saving for your first property, because at the end of the day there's a lot more to save for than your deposit. There are a lot of other things to consider, like stamp duty, you've got your solicitor fees, you've got mortgage product fees, and a whole load of other things. So if you haven't seen that video, you'll definitely want to go back and check that out. So yeah, as I was saying, if you don't have a concrete figure of what you're saving for, how are you actually going to be disciplined to be able to go ahead and do what you can in order to achieve that goal quicker? I.e., if you don't have a figure like, let's say £200,000 is the property price, and that you know that you're going to have about maybe £30,000 including deposit and other things that you need to save for towards the house, how are you going to give yourself timescales to work to in order to achieve that goal quicker? Right? It makes sense, doesn't it? So that's why I say your number one thing is to identify what that savings figure looks like for yourself. Number two, budget. You need to understand where your money is going and what you are spending it on. This is where the idea of having a budget tracker or like a budget spreadsheet comes in very handy. With a budget tracker, you're able to put in all your incoming monies and then all your expenses. That is all your essential costs that you need to pay for on a monthly basis, bills and just general maintenance for yourself, as well as also your savings. If you don't have somewhere where you record how much money is coming in and also how much you are spending out, whether that be towards your essential maintenance or like your splurges and sort of like luxury wants and things, how are you going to know where you can take money from in order to boost up your savings? So let me break this down. If you have a budget tracker and you're able to identify that you're spending like £200-300 on basically nothing at the end of the day, so you've gotten paid on payday and then you've ended up now spending loads of money on takeaways, spending money on eating out when you didn't have to all the time, and just outings in general, you'll be able to identify that that's a pot of money whereby you can allocate to your savings. So whether you then decide to be disciplined to the point of saying, you know what, I'm going to strip all that back and put that money towards savings each month, or even just take a chunk of that, maybe half of that towards savings, you're already in a much better place because you're putting your money to better use and you're speeding up the process of saving for your house. So that is why I say you need to budget and budget well. The art of budgeting is about being able to discipline yourself and saying, actually no, for this time period whereby I'm trying to save for my house, I'm going to forget instant gratification and actually be very disciplined with myself. All that money that I'm spending on clothes and shoes and basically essentially things that I don't really need, I'm going to cut that back for a while and put it towards my house. So number two, budget. So my third tip basically is that on payday, rather than saying, do you know what, it's time for me to treat myself, let me go and do a little shopping spree, this is your time to take out the maximum that you can and throw it right into your savings. Do it immediately before you do anything else. So this point right here is where having your budget tracker or budget sheet is so important, because if you don't have a sheet of where you're tracking all your costs, that is where all your money is going to, and in this case I'm particularly talking about the things that you need to pay for, not necessarily the want tos or like luxuries and things like that, then you won't be able to identify what this maximum figure of savings will look like for you. So as I mentioned previously, if you identify that you're spending £300 on things, basically things that you don't need frivolously, then you can now allocate that £300 straight on payday into your savings account. You want to do this before anything else. The reason why I haven't said to automate this is because I find that from month to month things may change, and so how much you spent last month may differ to how much you may need to spend this month, and that comes down to certain emergencies or last minute things that may crop up that you didn't realize you'd have to pay for. So that's why I say not to do it as an automatic thing, although at the end of the day, even if you did automate this process, you can always withdraw back money from the savings back into your current account or wherever your money is stored. But then I would advise against that overall, because the whole point is that once you put your money into that savings, you don't really want to be dipping back into that pot, okay? It's supposed to be off limits. So anyway, that's why I say payday, first thing you do, drop that money straight into your savings account, and then you know what's left to do with like your bills, your essential maintenance and things like that. Number 4 is to get an ISA account if you haven't already done so already, right? So I'm talking about a Help to Buy ISA in particular. So the actual Help to Buy scheme that was available to first-time buyers has now actually been discontinued, and now the lifetime ISA has come in its place. So essentially with the lifetime ISA, it helps you to save towards your property or retirement. And so what the scheme does is that for each year that you save in the account, you can receive a 25% bonus on top of what you've saved. And I believe the maximum they'll pay the bonus on is £4,000 each year. So just think of it, you can get an additional £1,000 each year you're saving towards your house just by putting your money in one of these lifetime ISAs. These lifetime ISAs are open to all applicants from 18 to 39 years old and are applicable to properties up to £450,000. So that is, as long as the property that you're looking to buy is within the £450,000 mark, then you're good. And this is definitely a way to save quicker for that property. The only thing about this lifetime ISA is the fact that you can get a penalty of 25% if you withdraw the money for any other reason apart from putting towards your property purchase or for retirement. So that's definitely something to think about. So if you know you're somebody that cannot be strict to the point of once you've put the money in the ISA account, you won't be able to help yourself from dipping into it, or you may have an emergency or for whatever reason may need to dip back into that pot, you may want to have a separate savings account that you have for that. So therefore you know that you don't dip back into the ISA account, but if you ever need to dip back into your savings, you have a separate account that you can go into and are not penalized for. Another thing that I like about the lifetime ISA or any ISA account in general is the fact that on a month-to-month basis you accumulate some interest on top of whatever you've saved in that account. So again, no brainer, you're getting free money, so why not utilize it? And it's going to help you save your money a lot quicker towards that first property. Number 5, one of my favorites, meal prep. I cannot stress enough the importance of doing meal prep, okay? Food is just one of those things that we spend ridiculous amounts of money on without even realizing it, because you think it's food, right? You need to eat. You've got breakfast, lunch and dinner. Like, you need to eat, right? It's something that you can't dispute. But yes, you do need to eat, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be smart about it. Think about it. On a working week, well, the usual working week when we're not on lockdown, we'll go out there, maybe get breakfast, get lunch, and already you're spending like £10 a day. That's £50 during the working week on foods that you don't necessarily need to buy. Whereas if you did meal prep, did your food shopping on the weekend and made all your meals and brought them into work, you could spend maybe £10 for the entire week on lunches rather than spending what, £50. You get what I mean? Like, it's just things like that, little changes like that, and before you know it, you will have maybe an additional couple £1,000s at the end of the year to put towards your property, because again, you've delayed gratification for yourself and not spent money so frivolously on things that actually you don't really need. Put the money to better use, at least for this period in time anyway, where you want to save towards that property, towards that thing that you really want. Number 6 is to limit credit card usage or avoid it altogether if you know you're somebody that's not so disciplined when it comes to money. So when I say limit credit card usage, I'm saying only pay with your credit card what you know that you can afford to pay back in the month. And I say pay back in the month because that's how you increase your credit score or you improve your credit score. And at the end of the day, the only reason you should maybe be using a credit card at this point is to have a better credit score, so that when it comes to applying for your mortgage, like, you get better deals and they can see that you're good with money and you're good with paying back. So anyway, if you're not somebody that can trust yourself to be able to essentially pay back what you've used your credit card to buy in the month, then I suggest not using it at all. You don't want your credit card to become something that adds debt to you, and then when you come to applying for a mortgage, it goes against you because they see that you have credit cards that are unpaid for. That's not what you want. So I say, if you're going to use a credit card, use it very wisely. If not, stay away. Number 7, you don't need that luxury item just yet, okay? It may be shoes, it may be bags, it may be another clothing item, it may be a nice car. Whatever it is, you don't need it right now, especially if you're trying to save towards a mortgage. Why do I say this? Because it's so easy, especially in my generation, to find people spending like hundreds, thousands on like designer bags and things like that, or hire purchase cars, and then they're wondering where all their money goes. Their money is going into the wrong pot. Again, delayed gratification. I'm not saying that having these things isn't good, but I'm just saying there's a time for everything. That should not be the priority right now. Getting yourself your own home and being settled is far more important. That is an investment in your life. 1, it's an asset for you, which is going to appreciate in value over time. And 2, it's something that you can call your own. It is your own home. Now, the reason I call that hire purchase cars in particular is because depending on how much it is that you are putting towards your car each month, when you speak to mortgage brokers or lenders about how much they can possibly lend you, they're going going to look at things like this, that is, they look at your statements and they basically see what are your monthly commitments. If it looks like you've got a lot of monthly commitments which are quite high or quite expensive, that may go against you in terms of how much they're willing to lend you. If your salary is not particularly high or high enough in comparison to all the things that you're spending on a monthly basis. Hope that makes sense. If not, please do let me know down in the comments and I'll get back to you just to clarify that. Number 8 is to reward and treat yourself. Now, I know that might sound a bit like a contradiction because I've just been like, delayed gratification, don't spend that money on clothes, don't spend that money on cars, that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is that you can't go a long period of time without rewarding yourself in one way or another. That is that when you're saving for your first house, don't be so hard on yourself to the point that you do not ever treat yourself, or that you don't do like nice little things for yourself that make you feel good or like pick you up or just give you a little, you know, pat on the back, like well done for saving that much this month. You want to do some little things to make you feel good. And when I say little things, it may be little things like maintenance. If you're a girl, you like to maybe get your nails done, you know, get your feet done, have a little pedi, you know, if it's things like that, maintain that, do that every month. One, it's not that pricey. Two, it's something you can afford to do and still save significantly towards your property. And 3, it's just nice to know that you are enjoying some of your money as well. Now, number 9, and finally, one of my favorites, if you're in a position to stay at home, please do stay at home. If you moved out prematurely before you need to, you're going to have to ensure that your rent is paid on a monthly basis. That's just something you can't get by without doing. Otherwise, you're not going to have a home, and you don't want that. So that naturally increases your monthly expenses by a great deal. And then you've got your other bills that you need to pay on a monthly basis. And before you know it, you're like looking at yourself and you're thinking, there's nothing left for me to save. And you don't want to be in that position, especially if you're somebody that wants to save for this property ASAP, extremely fast. Therefore, that's why I advise that if you're in a position whereby you can stay at home, make sure that you do so. Save what you can and then go on to buy your property. On the other hand, if you are somebody that's had to move out and you've had to go and rent your own place, what I would advise is that you basically go for the smaller room. So see it as a temporary thing, okay? Don't do the most. Don't try and get yourself the biggest, nicest room, okay? I'm not saying that you shouldn't be somewhere where you're comfortable, but what I am saying is that you want to see this place as somewhere temporary that's helping you get quicker to where you need to be. Something that will get you by, you know, give you a roof over your head and give you the leeway to be able to save as much as you can towards that property that is going to be your own. So guys, that is the end of this week's video. I do hope you found this useful. Please do let me know down in the comments. As always, if you have any other suggestions of videos and topics that you'd like me to cover, please do also let me know down in the comments and I'll go about and creating that video for you. Thanks again for watching and I will catch you next week. Bye.